Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, receives the head of the Bina movement and the delegation accompanying him. Army General Said Chingriha receives the NATO Deputy Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs and Security Policy, tackling cooperation, security and regional stability. Algeria summons the French ambassador to Algeria over the provocative treatment of its citizens at Paris airports. And the cooperation protocol is signed between Algeria and Italy, reiterating the police training and the exchange of expertise. Welcome back. We begin with night's top story as the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, received at the headquarters of the presidency this Tuesday the President of the Bina movement, Abdelkader Ben Guirina, and the delegation accompanying him. The audience took place in the presence of the Principal Private Secretary, Boualem, the advisor to the President of the Republic, heading the General Directorate of Communication, Kamal Sidi Said. Abdelkader Ben Guirina made the following statement. The National Bina movement is honored to meet the President of the Republic in the framework of a regular meeting, during which we conveyed to him a set of social, economic and other issues. We delivered a comprehensive document that included a set of files, namely economy, society, state, our national community abroad, and building a governance foundation with represented political parties. We gave our honest opinion to the President of the Republic, who welcomed it. He noted to us the power of the Algerian nation and its army and security services, as well as the strength of our economy in all its aspects, which further consolidates our trust in the President of the Republic, his performance and his intention. We added that his program was voted on by the nation, which is why we should work hard to implement it. It does not benefit President Tebboune personally, but the Algerian nation. We discussed the Palestinian issue in all its aspects, including our commitment as an Algerian nation towards the cause, the Palestinian reunification to face all dangers. In the same setting, we evoked the preoccupations of the education sector personnel, doctors, and the reforms initiated by the ministries through consultations with us. We also discussed the economy and supporting national investors through eliminating bureaucracy, granting them hope so that the Algerian capital stays within the country. The document also includes deepening freedoms and the program that the Algerian people voted for: health security, food security, defending the interests of the Algerian people, administrative division, Algeria's efforts in the Security Council, and flexibility in the implementation of many decisions. Our party hails this tradition initiated by the President of the Republic, which is not imposed on him by law nor the Constitution. We wish to reach a successful strategic dialogue that the President mentioned after taking the oath, and to work on building a representative basis after the laws on elections, associations, and provincial and municipal laws. We talked about the need to build a national front to protect the state and represent the internal front and national gains. As for the concerns we conveyed, the President promised to take the necessary measures. The President of the Constitutional Court is in Cairo, Egypt, to take part in the 8th edition of the high-level meeting of African Presidents of Constitutional Courts, Supreme Courts, and Constitutional Councils. Omar Belhaj signed a memorandum of understanding with his counterpart, the Egyptian head of the Constitutional Court, Paul Iskandar Fahmy, to consolidate cooperation in the constitutional laws and justice, as well as the exchange of know-how and expertise in these fields. On the sidelines of this meeting, the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the Presidents of the African Constitutional Courts, Supreme Courts, and Constitutional Councils. In other news, Army General Said Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, received today at the headquarters of the People's National Army Chief Staff Javier Colomina, Deputy Secretary General for Political Affairs and Security Policy of NATO, who is on an official visit to Algeria at the head of an important delegation. The meeting is basically meant to promote bilateral military cooperation. Salim Miro has more.
Army General Said Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, received at the premises of the National Defense Ministry Javier Colomina, the NATO Deputy Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs and Security Policy, now on a visit to our country ahead of an important delegation. The meeting was attended by Major Generals and Generals of the Defense Ministry and the General Staff of the PNA, in addition to members of the NATO delegation. After the welcome ceremony, the Army General indicated that this visit denotes the common will of the two sides to consolidate cooperation as part of regional stability and security and to exchange point of views relating to the situation in the region. For the Army General, this meeting is an opportunity to hold consultations on the security challenges and threats in the region.
تعكس زيارتكم هذه مدى الاهتمام الذي يوليه حلف شمال الأطلسي لتعزيز الحوار مع الجزائر لا سيما بخصوص إرساء موجبات الاستقرار والأمن الإقليميين.
The Army General stressed the commitment of the two sides to beef up the cooperation mechanism and establish a solid and fruitful partnership in quest of new cooperation prospects.
المشترك إذ نعتبر الحوار المتوسطي لمنظمة حلف شمال الأطلسي الذي انضمت إليه الجزائر عام 2000 أحد الأطر الهامة التي تتيح التشاور حول قضايا الأمن المشترك.
For his part, the Deputy Assistant Secretary General Khafir Kolomina hailed the firm will of the Algerian side to promote bilateral military cooperation, commending the efforts and the key role of Algeria in maintaining security and stability in the region.
The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, received today a phone call from the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. On the occasion, Ahmed Attaf renewed his congratulations to his American counterpart, now leading the U.S. Department of State. Both sides hailed the positive dynamic in the bilateral relations and agreed to reinforce it in paramount fields such as defense, energy, agriculture, as well as science and technology. As for the International Multilateral Working Plan, both parties discussed developments in the Middle East and reaffirmed their commitment to continue coordination at the Security Council in order to consolidate and perpetuate the ceasefire in Gaza. They also expressed willingness to accompany Syrian and Lebanese peoples in the pursuit of security, stability, and the preservation of their sovereignty and national unity. Cooperation agreement was signed between Algeria and Italy in Rome as part of a visit paid by the Interior Minister Brahim Mered. It pertains to police training and exchange of expertise and know-how, according to Minister Lila Balaman in this report.
In a global context marked by growing security challenges, Algeria and Italy took an unprecedented step in their strategic partnership this morning. The Minister of the Interior and his Italian counterpart met in Rome to formalize a unique agreement, strengthening their cooperation in police training. A partnership between the Ali Tunsi Higher Police School and the Italian Police Training Academy symbolizes this milestone. Algeria maintains strong relations with friendly Italy, and this special and distinguished relationship stems from the ties between the two presidents, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and the President of the Italian Republic. It is only natural that we are committed to addressing together the long-standing issues and all the negative aspects we must confront. Within the framework established between the two parties since last year, cooperation has extended to the brotherly countries of Tunisia and Libya and will further expand to Italy's neighboring countries.
منذ السنة الماضية والإطار توسع إلى البلدان الشقيقة تونس وليبيا وسيتوسع أكثر إلى بلدان مجاورة لإيطاليا.
It is very important for us begin systems of relations to cultivate a strong friendship, further reinforced by the personal bond I share with my colleague and friend Brahim Murad. We consider the Italian-Algerian friendship essential to guide the Mediterranean policy, particularly on issues falling under the interior ministries, such as combating irregular migration, fighting terrorism, and ensuring the security of our citizens. We will continue to pursue this path. A partnership described as historic by both parties. This agreement is exceptional in nature, making it the first of its kind between the Algerian police and a European police force. On the Italian side, it is also the first of the kind in terms of ambition and scope. Regarding the main clause of this agreement, it focuses on the training of trainers. The Italian police has signed this agreement for the first time. We will benefit greatly from this, as we will send our trainers to Italy to undergo training and transfer professional knowledge to all employees of the national security institutions, police forces.
وإعطائها لكل موظفي الشرطة بالمؤسسة الأمن الوطني إن شاء الله.
The day was not limited to commitments on paper. The Algerian delegation visited the facilities of NOCS, an Italian elite unit specializing in counter-terrorism and organized crime interventions.
È molto importante per noi la cooperazione tra
Cooperation between the Algerian and Italian police is very important to us, particularly with NOCS, to address terrorist threats and common challenges faced by both Algeria and Italy. Past collaborations have been highly significant, as will be the future ones, to enhance intervention techniques.
che ci saranno appunto per migliorare le tecniche di intervento.
By combining strategic ambitions with concrete actions, this agreement, the first of its kind between the two nations, demonstrates that a common and coordinated approach is now indispensable in addressing 21st century security challenges. Through this groundbreaking commitment, Algeria and Italy affirmed their determination to build a safer future and lay the foundation for exemplary police cooperation, paving the way for similar initiatives on a regional and international scale.
The Secretary of State, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, in charge of the National Community Abroad, Sofiane Shaib, summoned the Ambassador of France to Algeria to inform him of the firm protest of the Algerian government and the provocative treatment reserved for Algerian nationals at Paris airports. Algeria notes with deep concern the consistent testimonies of a certain number of Algerian nationals on provocative, degrading and discriminatory treatment to which they are subject to by the border police at Roissy-Charles de Gaulle and Orly airports. After the confirmation of this information, the French ambassador was summoned by Shaib, who also reaffirmed to him the categorical rejection of any attacks in any way on the dignity of citizens, using them for purposes of pressure, provocation, or attempted intimidation against their countries, while asking the ambassador to inform his government of the need to take essential measures to end without delay these actions and unacceptable practices which dishonor the French government. In other news, the Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Al-Aqab, is in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to represent the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the Summit of Heads of African States on Energy, held under the theme Connecting 300 Million Africans to Electricity by 2023. He ended with a declaration of Dar es Salaam on energy and the reiteration of the need to activate advanced renewable energies that fulfill the needs of African people. The same summit gathers presidents and heads of state and regional and international banks, global partners, in addition to private businesses and energy experts. On a visit to the Republic of Hungary, the Secretary General of the MFA, Lunas Mugerman, co-presided along with the Hungarian Secretary in charge of bilateral relations, Ilyes Boglarka, the proceedings of the third session of Algerian-Hungarian political consultations. This session was the occasion to examine the state of bilateral relations and to discuss means and ways to reinforce it, notably in the detailed political dialogue, and to implement the necessary means to give a new impetus to economic and trade and technical cooperation in many fields. Mugerman also met with the Secretary of State in charge of the security policy and the energy security, Peter Story, on regional and international issues of common interest, notably the Middle East, including issues of Palestine and Western Sahara, in addition to the Sahel, and cooperation opportunities in regard to immigration and the fight against terrorism. Coming up in our news edition. Moroccans keep taking to the streets to denounce the government's policy, rejecting their legitimate social demands and pushing the country towards more chaos and turmoil. Burial nuclear explosions in Temnaras, the 1st of May 1962, one of the many heinous crimes of colonial France the effects of which remain even today, and the radioactivity threatens the environment and inhabitants of the region. Salim Merah.
63 years after the French nuclear test in Acre, the region is still suffering the health and the ecological aftermath of this bloody event. Nuclear tests in the Algerian Sahara between 1960 and 1968 continued to pollute the air in the region of Ain Mghil. Malformations, cancer and miscarriages are the least to mention as consequences of this crime in the neighboring locality of Acre. where no less than 13 tests officially recognized by the French were carried out. And among these 13 explosions, 12 were doomed to failure. 4 nuclear accidents took place, and a large contamination of the environment of the region was noticeable as well. May the 1st, 1962, underground nuclear test of Beryl, 4 times the power of the Hiroshima bomb, sent tremors through Ica. The explosion caused molten rock to be ejected from the mountain. A radioactive cloud crossed the borders to other countries even before the Chernobyl cloud, which crossed Europe in 1986, as well as that of Fukushima in 2011. From a legal point of view, colonial France didn't respect the standards set by the International Atomic Energy Agency in its explosions carried out in the Algerian desert, including that of Beryl. According to experts, France must shoulder its legal and moral responsibilities, knowing that the international law requires compensation for the victims of these nuclear tests.
Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar bin Jama, stated from the Security Council that UNRWA was the target of a destructive attack which affected its performance in presenting humanitarian aid in the occupied Palestinian territories. Bin Jama refuted all allegations and claims against UNRWA, calling for a thorough investigation of them, considering that the organization works on behalf of the member states of the United Nations and the collective will that cannot be ignored, explaining that responsibility requires supporting it to enable it to continue providing humanitarian aid to Palestinians to preserve their dignity and ensure their survival on their lands. Despite ongoing violations by the Zionist entity of the ceasefire agreement reached after nearly 16 months of genocidal assaults, thousands of displaced Palestinians are slowly returning to their homes in northern Gaza. The Palestinian people remain determined to defend their land and rights and to preserve their heritage for future generations. More details with Melissa Lila Balaman.
Thousands of displaced Palestinians are gradually returning to their towns in northern Gaza as part of the ceasefire agreement reached after nearly 16 months of genocidal aggression. The humanitarian organization Refugees International expressed alarm over calls for the forced displacement of the population from Gaza, emphasizing that the Palestinians have the right to return to their homes. Meanwhile, medical sources reported that 250 displaced individuals were admitted to hospitals, noting that those attempting to return to the northern part of the enclave were suffering from exhaustion. Although the ceasefire came to effect on January 19th, the Zionist entity continues to carry out attacks in Gaza, violating the established agreements. Early in the morning, tanks opened fire on Palestinians trying to return to their homes near Khalil al-Nubani school in the southern part of the Zaytun neighborhood. There is no greater joy than returning to our land and homes. We are ready to die for Gaza. We have no other homeland.
موتوا فيها أرضكم وين تروحوا؟
Despite the atrocities, pressure and attempts at forced displacement, the Palestinian people remain steadfastly attached to their land, refusing to yield to oppression. Their unwavering will embodies determination to defend their legitimate rights and preserve their heritage for future generations. I came out of prison and I am so happy to see my children return home, or what's left of it after it was bombed. 2 of my children are still detained and my eldest is missing. My fingers were broken and I was shot in the leg. May God punish the criminals. I am very happy to return to my home. It is nothing but rubble now, but I will sleep there tonight. I thank God for allowing us to reunite with our families. I haven't seen mine in a year. The Palestinians remind the world that their land is non-negotiable, for it is not just a territory, but their very essence. They will never stop fighting to reclaim the full sovereignty of their homeland, Palestine.
As for the situation in Morocco, many citizens denounce the policy of their government that continues to turn a blind eye to their concerns and socioeconomic situation. Salimiro Hagan.
Faced with a serious multifaceted crisis, the Mersin regime is now unable to respond to the concerns of citizens currently facing several social problems. Unemployment is gaining ground because of the chaotic policy of the Mersin government, which is driving the country towards collapse. The situation is pushing the Moroccan youth to take the risk and move to the other shore of the Mediterranean. For them, all means are good to move to Spanish cities to get rid of the current regime. I would never have believed that this could happen. One day today, I'm taking to the streets with the members of my family to denounce the Mohsen regime. I have submitted my CV everywhere, but no one wants us. We know that these positions are reserved for the regime's backed people and not young graduates. This is unfortunately the seamy side of the Moroccans that the Mohsen regime is trying to stifle by all means, a regime fully involved in normalization and conspiracy. For these reasons, protest movements are held on a regular basis for nearly 3 years.
Sports now, USM Algiers drew with Paradu AC with 1-1 as part of the National Football Championship. The goals were scored by Bulbina for PAC and Belzakmi for USMA. That was all for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.